All right. I'll make this quick. It's going to be a pretty quick one today. Yesterday, when I was having a hard time thinking about what I was feeling pretty down, and I was having a hard time thinking about what uh, I should do with the podcast this week. Let's center up a little better. When I was trying to figure out what to do with the podcast, I was sort of at a loss. I was having my weekly chat with Brad Rose. We tried to have something on the calendar where we connect and talk about anything really in our lives, and we try to do it every week. We don't always, but we were chatting, and it was pretty. Both of us were feeling good and bad about things, and I was saying, "Man, I have to record my newsletter this week, and I'm not exactly sure what I want to talk about because I don't." As I sort of said last week, like I want to identify things that we can problem solve together, but also I don't want to just be talking negatively about how certain things are broken. Um, and he and I started having this conversation that was actually pretty deep about a lot of things that are near and dear to his heart, um, around community building and creating art in the face of collapse, is how he describes it, and just in face of the world that we're faced with right now, and how you kind of, how mutual support and creativity can be a pretty powerful thing in this time. And he was starting to talk about that and was doing really like a really good monologue to me, basically. And I said, "Hey, can we just jump in and do this conversation as a pod or as a newsletter thing?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess." And so I just kind of forced him onto a recording, and I had to have a little bit of a conversation, and a lot of it's interesting to me because it's about reaching out to people and collaborating and doing all these things. And until I had that moment of like, oh, I should just record this conversation. Uh, I realized I was not following our own advice about like, when you are at a low place, you should go reach out to people and ask for their help, not just complain, but actually go, well, what can we do together to make this better? And the truth is, I think people are more ready for that than they've ever been because the world is just so right now. I hope that's true at least. So nothing much more. We'll talk a little bit about the news of the week and stuff on the other side. But I just want to get in the conversation because it's kind of interesting because we just off the cuff jumped in and to have this conversation. So hope it's interesting to you. I hope it's a good guide for like, oh, other people are feeling this way. And yeah. So let's go talk to Brad. All right. So I I just threw Brad into the podcast software here and said, no, say that again. But a little bit of preamble was I was talking to Brad and I was casting about saying, I really haven't planned for the newsletter this week and I'm not sure what to talk about. I'll talk about obviously like, I've got the records for some things coming in and talk about news. But in terms of my topic for the week, I was feeling pretty down and I was feeling pretty like I don't know what to talk about and I don't want to be the negative guy talking about negative shit every week. I was trying to not do that last week and but things are a little, scary in the world and scary in my life and all these things, and I wanted to take my own advice, which we were just talking about, like when Brad started talking um, about what you were just saying about this larger topic. But what really kicked it off for me was the fact that you said like this is a social thing, and it just made me be like, why don't I just have Brad talk about this thing with me, and also why don't I just ask for help? You know what I mean? Like I wasn't asking for help. I it became very obvious that like I should be like
Yeah.
Brad was right in front of me with like we were having this conversation. I should have just said, "Hey man, can you help me with like how do I figure this out?" And I wasn't doing it. You know what I mean? This sort of like we were literally having a conversation about solidarity and like being with like
Yeah.
how the only way we're getting through is by asking for help and being with each other and doing things with each other. And I was like, well, I'll have to muscle through and do this week after I'm done
I got to
talking
do
to
it
you. I'll
all on
walk
my
the
own.
dog and then I'll go do it myself, I guess, you know? And so, but what we were talking about was like, so the world's increasingly a scary place, and the world in the industry is an increasingly scary place, which we've talked a lot about. Um, but a thing I feel like I haven't always been great about talking about um, on this newsletter is something that's near and dear to your heart, Brad, which is just the concept of like, yeah, and we're still going to want to make our art, and we're all still, and it might even be important to make our art. So, not to make you just say something you said before, but like,
Well, yeah, I mean, so we were talking about, we were talking about like, yeah, we still got to get up tomorrow. Um, and we're still, again, most of us going to continue to make music, make art, all those things. And a important like shout out to, Lamim Young Paretsky, who has been talking about this a lot, this social thing. And that's so inherent and important to it. And I would venture to say that like music, art, etc. Um, and yeah, the way to be safer, the way through this is together. Like, get with people in the same space. Like, make things, do things, be open. Like, I mean, those are, I don't know. I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot. I've been thinking about this a lot, and just this whole idea of the more that we can be like together in community, which is this almost feels like this trite saying that's like cliche at this point, but it's fucking true. Like, the more we are with each other, the more we see each other as people, and we're not just points on the board. We're not just like check marks and fucking likes and these isolated individual things all trying, you know, pulling in different directions when we should be pulling in the same damn direction. Um, because I mean, the reality is we're all fucked, right?
yeah,
Might as well. I mean, I was not gonna say, yeah, like we might as well be doing it like together and try and there's and especially I mean, and this is again, of course, people talk about like, oh yeah, like bad times like breed great art, whatever. Fuck all that. Like, I'm not interested in that part. I'm interested in like, yes, channeling the anger we have and the fear that we have
it
and
feels almost like inoculating ourselves against the fact that things are going to be, like doing a
yeah,
little bit of shoring up over like, yes, stuff is happening, but let's start closing ranks on some that, which sounds really exclusive. That's not what I mean, but you know, um, yeah, it sounds like doomerism, but I know I've talked to you enough that like it's somewhat the opposite. It's
it
more
is
acceptance, or
yeah, like to me I mean, like I said, yeah, like we are living in a time of collapse, ecological collapse, societal collapse, political collapse. Like, there's no denying it. We are in it. And that's terrifying and that's awful. But what comes next? What is, and if and God, I totally understand just wanting to pack your bags and go and be like, fuck it, I'm done. And I don't blame anybody who is, we all gotta do what we gotta do. But like, if I give up and then just like, fuck it. And if you give up and if my partner gives up, it like the people who are directly responsible for that collapse, they're not giving up.
yeah,
And so, uh, yeah, like there is whatever it looks like, I don't know, but there is still like tomorrow.
yeah,
And I want to get together with the people who are, and who are angry about it right now and talk about, yeah, what could be different? Not none of this, and I don't want to like, oh, get back to things are this way.
No.
Because the things, when things were this way and were supposedly good, they ended up here.
Yeah. And they
It's
were
got to be
probably not
different.
good for as many people as we feel
No,
like. So,
absolutely not. And
uh,
so, I don't know. And I think the social thing again, like I
yeah,
think being in the same space with people.
I think, we got here because of loneliness. I think there's been this active action towards loneliness. Just so many factors that created loneliness. And then I think all this stuff breeds on a bunch of people feeling separated and lonely. And I'm seeing myself falling into that. And I think a lot of the point of doing the newsletter and having people on and talking out loud and hoping for some feedback is because I felt so lonely and people weren't talking about that things are hard. You know what I mean? And I don't want to turn this into a weekly, like, look how shitty everything is, but I want it to be more like a commiseration at minimum, if not also solutioning. You know what I mean? And it's not going to be the like fulcrum in which we change the world, but it will be. I don't know, man. I find myself falling back into fear and loneliness constantly. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
anxiety, and it's just like I was doing it in real time while we were talking. You know what I mean? I was like, "Fuck, I gotta write this stupid thing." You know what I mean? And you were talking about like not doing that. We need to not be doing that. And I was like, "Yeah, good point." I was not following any of the own advice we were just saying. I could have just said, "Hey, Brad, can you help me do this week's newsletter and let's talk about this sort of feeling of loneliness and how that's not going to be productive." And I know you're working on a lot of stuff in this space, and we've had a lot of conversations about this. And it's just, I think it's worth saying, like, you and I talk a lot about this to ourselves and to each other and to other people, and still I constantly find myself falling in the trap of isolating and isolating and isolating, and it's
It's
just,
hard not to. I mean, well, because everything is set up to make us feel isolated and wants us to feel, because if we feel isolated and alone, we spend money. So, you know, I realize like this is going to be going out on social media, but fuck.
I mean, we got to use the tools we have in the ways we can, you know what I mean? But like, I want to
Yeah,
use social media the way the promise of social media was, you know what I mean? And maybe that's fool's gold, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to do, and
right.
I kind of am open to like every single thing. We've been talking a lot. I mean, to bring it back to topics that we've talked about on
Hmm.
this, we've been talking about just the value of doing those like Bandcamp listening parties and how people need to like
Yeah,
totally get over the fact that you might have 9 people. It's like, yeah, guess what? Your record's also going to sell 9 records most of the time.
right.
Like, like, it's like part of this acceptance thing of just like, this is actually where the world is. We need to stop selling that there's more to it. I think part of that is just accepting like 3 people might show up to your listening party, but go like, if 3 people showed up to you having like a drink because something good happened to you at a
Right.
bar, you'd
You'd
be
be
happy.
stoked. I think that's a really great way to put it. So, I mean, full transparency. I had my first ever listening party on the Jewel Garden the last week, 2 weeks. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't. 2 weeks ago, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what day it was, but um, I think 5 people showed up. Three kind of actively. I mean, it was great. I
Yeah, it
had a
was
great
fun.
time. It was like hanging out with a couple friends and
Yeah. I
talking about
mean,
tunes.
but at the same time, people had to actively participate in it. Like,
Yeah.
not only did you have to actively take the risk to do it, but like, I think there's also a little bit of like, oh shit, if I'm going to be one of the 3 people in the room, I feel like I need to be giving feedback. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, like, I think it's scary for everyone to do those things. And I think it seems so trifling, not a big deal, but it really is. Like, this is where we're at. Like, every sip that we can get of solidarity and comfort and human interaction, we can get that as on a like normal plane, we should take it. We should
Yeah.
not look over it, and I think, and anything you can give, any chance you have a chance to like give your time towards that sort of thing when somebody else is taking risks and asking for compassion and all this stuff. I'm not asking you to solve everybody's problem, but like anytime it's kind of easy and low stakes for you to go support somebody, like it doesn't, I think right now, I guess this is the best message I have in terms of like what's an actionable small thing is like matters more now than it has in the past. I think it has a bigger impact than it has in the past because of the level of, frankly, terror and collapse that we're in, and because of the sort of the way everybody feels lost and don't know what the answer is and don't know what to do next. It's like, well, at the very least, I chatted with this person and they were supportive. You know what I mean? That goes so far right now. You know?
Yeah, for real. And I mean, yeah, I think that's the thing. Those sort of like small intentional acts. I don't know. I hope there maybe somehow as I, I can't tell you exactly how or why it matters. I just know that it.
It does, and it's certainly not better to avoid it. You know what I mean? Like it's certainly not better to go the other direction. So I know that.
Yeah, and
So
and again, like being with other people, eh, it's a way to process like these realities that we are all dealing with, and imagining responses that aren't just this individual survival,
yeah.
because like
Oh, that's well
collective
said.
survival is that's what matters. That's what we need, and the only way we do that is together.
Yeah. And sometimes you actually build things when you do well. If you're together a lot, sometimes you find like,
Yeah,
oh, we're building something here. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I literally think we need to have our eyes out for as much of this as we can find. And if it's a stupid Bandcamp listening party, if it's a small gathering in your town, if it's a art, facilitating some sort of arts gathering, or just going, like that's the biggest thing is I think people don't fully understand just showing up and participating, like how that is we need more of that than the facilitators. You know what I mean? Like
just
like
showing up and participating is like 80% of it,
it's like none of
if
it
not
works without
more.
that. Yeah, exactly. Uh, I think people feel like they're not doing much, but just making an appearance in these various forms. And I'm talking to myself as much as anybody else. Like, don't
Absolutely,
like I'm the worst at this
absolutely.
stuff. And so this is 100%. I'm spending a lot of time just being frozen in being like, I don't know what to do about all sorts of different things. And it gets a lot easier if I go have that conversation with other people who also don't know what to do.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
might
when the best
accidentally
of,
figure out something to do.
yeah, exactly. At the very least, you usually feel a little less destabilized and a little bit more equipped to go do the rest of your day. You know what I mean? Like rest of your week because you went and got like some solidarity with other people. And so I think I think it was a very obvious moment where I could have just said, "Hey, Brad, can you help me? Can you jump on the podcast? Let's talk about something." And instead, I was just like, "Man, I don't know what I'm going to do with the podcast or the newsletter. Let's, I don't know."
Yeah, but also, hey, stop kicking yourself up. You did.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying it's such a funny. It was just so obvious. It was right in front of me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I haven't for the last 2 weeks when I've been feeling really down. I've been going through some stuff and feeling down. I didn't line up guests the way I was doing, you know what I mean? I wasn't pre-thinking about stuff, like, these are the things that go out the window when you're in, like, survival brain, right? And so, like, that's when you gotta turn to people instead of not, I was going inward instead of turning to people and going like, "Hey, can you help me out?" So I don't know. There's not much more here to this than
yeah,
it's both a very big idea and a very small idea, but, like, I hope it's a good clear moment of like, hey, the world's really scary right now. Generally, the music industry is really messy. The more we can be honest with each other about that and then just go kind of sit with each other, help it, the higher likelihood that we're going to get through it. And um, hopefully this can be your like this week's reminder of that.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. Go somewhere where there's like other people this
yeah.
weekend.
And ask for help, go. I think there's a difference between asking for help and going like, hey, is everybody else feeling this way? I think that's one of the best things you can do, because then you'll find out that people are like, "Oh god, yes, I am feeling that way."
Oh, yeah, I mean, I just saw this happen yesterday where someone was like, "Is everybody feeling like a certain," and then it was just this flood of like, "Oh god, thank God someone said it."
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, just do that more,
yeah. I mean, we
don't
don't you
don't
don't
worry
need to.
about like we're all drowning, man. Like
Yeah.
and yeah, speak it into you're not just speaking it into existence. It's there.
Yeah, no, it's there. It's real. Alright. This is good. I appreciate you jumping on for this. It makes my day a lot easier for sure.
Well, good. Then
And,
hey,
thanks for your time, man. Alright. Alright, cool. Yeah, so, that was Brad Rose. I'm really, I'm happy he was willing to jump on and have that conversation. Speaking of Brad, like, do go check out, he has this new project called Bliss Garden with, Basic of all people, if you know who that is, doing some really interesting work. Just a really cool, weird, awesome, hard to describe project. I'll put the cover here and I'll put it in the doobly doo, as they say. And I would really recommend you check it out. It's one of the most interesting things I've seen Brad do in a while. Um, and kind of an unlikely pairing that is starting to yield some really cool results. I've been hearing about this a little bit from him, and I finally got to. There's finally something up on Bandcamp for you to check out. Um, yeah, I mean, check out all of Brad's stuff. If you haven't gone and listened to Songs of Our Lives, that podcast is just wildly great. Um, amazing, amazing amount of guests right now. Just incredible. I mean, you can go back and find so many people that are very interesting and have them talk about some of the favorite songs in their lives or not favorite songs, and it's quite good. Um, so yeah, hopefully that conversation was worth it. You can kind of tell. I hope that I was definitely in a pretty vulnerable moment right there. I wasn't feeling great about anything, and I think the core message of just go when you're feeling that way, don't go inward, go outward, go find people to talk to, uh, is hopefully a clear, uh, hopefully that's it's a lesson that is very obvious, like an object lesson in that, I guess would be what I'm trying to say. In terms of Debacle and movements today, what's happening. I have a billion records down here from the forthcoming Andrew Weathers Ensemble. Fuck everybody, you can do anything. 10-year reissue. This is an incredible, exciting thing that I'm really stoked about. It's probably the biggest bet I've made on a record in a little while. And it is a fully remixed and remastered version of the album, the first album from the big, trio of Andrew Weathers Ensemble albums. And it is so good and it sounds so amazing. And we thought it was so important and different than the original one that we actually recreated the art in the real world. If you might remember that the previous version was very digital. And so we recreated that art as best we can, the guitar on the back, the placement of things, but we're using these interesting photos, fuzzy photos, to get the same vibe. We'll bring the green back a little bit in the spine. It's a really cool record. It's a very influential. I've been thinking a lot about the record because I've been writing it up this week, and it's just wild how I think it's a really influential record, and I think for me, it's a really powerful record. It's one of the records that really hits me with some amazing lyrics and tone that really is calming and kind of bittersweet. And if you haven't gone back and listened to it, you can go listen to the original version right now, and I'd encourage it. All three of the Andrew Weathers Ensemble records are fantastic. Um, and if you've been a fan of his of late, you might be kind of surprised by the tone of that record. but it is one of the coolest records from the last 10 years. And I'm really happy to be putting out the reissue. So I have a bunch of records here, getting the press cycle spun up, which is maybe something we should talk about, that like, as much as I'm disappointed in the press cycle, I'm still going to leverage the press cycle and see if something hits. I had somebody make some comments this week, and I want to make it clear, I don't think press is useful for the same things as it used to be, but I still think it's useful. So that might be a conversation worth having soon. But I will play something. Yeah, I'll play something from this record. We have a lot of stuff coming out in the meantime. We have Enter Ear, Spiritual Exit, and Noise Witch all hopefully finishing up right now. And those are all just incredible records, and they're going to come out in really fast succession. So I'm hoping to get some eyes on those. They're 3 very different records, and I'm stoked. Everything's kind of coming to head. All this stuff we've been talking about all spring and summer, it's all kind of coming out right now, and it's really exciting. And like Spiritual Exit is doing some touring, and I'm really stoked and hopeful that we can get all out in time. Yeah, I'll play something from the Andrew Weathers, the new mixes, and yeah, little different this week, a little off the cuff, even more so than normal. But I hope the message rings true. Brad's message, my message around going out, being with people, doing little acts of community, and how much that might change what your day-to-day feels like, what your week-to-week feels like, and also some permissiveness of like realizing you haven't been doing that. I get that, but I think it's worth kind of catching yourself and pushing back. All right, that's it for this week. Take care of others, take care of yourself, especially right now. Be safe, and I'll see you next week.
Praying for your happiness. Hope that you recover. Praying for your happiness.